That's interesting. I guess I'll get rid of Ghost Stories then too, eh?
Don't you fucking dare. The one game we get to work together. And you gotta think about your decision.
I gotta get them for the video.
No,
The viewers want content.
No,
I'm gonna give them content.
Put that back. Put that back. Too soon. You don't know this. You're gonna regret it. You're gonna regret it.
Hi everyone, welcome to Room and Board. My name's Chris George, and today we have games that are disappearing forever. That's right, welcome to The Purge 2.0. This is another games leaving the collection video. You have stumbled upon this video and you now know which games are garbage and should never be played because I'm getting rid of them. And I hate them. I hate anyone who is behind them. I hate anything they hope to become. And you know what? If you ever had a good experience with any of these games, well, I hate you too.
Dude, that's controversial.
Okay, enough with the peanut gallery.
I think there's more you can glean from that shelf, and you better put that back. You don't do it.
I need to get rid of some games that I like.
You have to get rid of some that you like. Why?
Because that's how these things go.
Look, boom, boom. These have sat here for 7 years.
They're collector's items.
Collecting dust.
They're not leaving.
7 years.
Okay, back from the culling approval. It's time to get rid of some games. I've been letting some games build up over time, and I do not have any more space, and I have so many more desires to purchase and experience new things, and I have more games coming my way all the time. So it is time to get rid of some games and make space for some new ones with the ultimate goal almost in our grasp of looking at the shelf and feeling like every single game on that shelf is exceptional. Exceptional. That's the quality bar that we are going for. Or pretty good. I've already lowered it because I know that not every game on my shelf that's still there is exceptional. But every game on your shelf you actively want to play. And that's a better criteria. You may enjoy games that are objectively not very good, but you might enjoy them, and obviously that's why they should stay in your collection. I know some people have mentioned that they wanted to see a shelf tour, and I'd like to do a shelf tour, but first I wanted to cut out all the riffraff. Really make sure I curate things that I'm excited to have on my shelves. And that's kind of a cool thing to propel me forward, to be able to be excited about games that are on my shelf and not to pass over them and go, it's okay. There still will be a couple of them, but I think it was with that in mind that I got 17 games that are leaving the collection. There's stacks and stacks. And some of these I got in bundles. We'll talk about them all. But when I looked at the shelves, I thought, that's okay. And if you're thinking, that's okay, why is it on your shelf? Why is it taking up valuable room? Why are you not passing it along to somebody who will enjoy it more, or selling it and then keeping that money and then spending that on a nice new delicious little treasure? So that's what I am endeavoring to do with this games leaving the collection. And there are a couple in here that may stay. Honestly, they may stay. If they don't sell, I won't be super upset that they won't sell, because I still do like them and I'd like to believe that I would play them. But the reality is, now, even especially with YouTube, I'm getting more and more new things in that I have to play a certain amount of times, and that leaves less time for me to play the games that I actually own and enjoy. And so some curation needs to happen, because when I get to play games for fun, which I still do all the time, or as much as I can, I know which games I'm going to grab and which games I'm going to take to other people's houses to even offer. And so if I'm not bringing them over to other people's houses to offer them there, and my girlfriend and we aren't playing them, then I think it's time for them to move on to some other household. So let's get through them. I'm gonna start with these 3 games. 3 off the bat. I honestly might keep these 2. These 3 were sent to me. They just showed up. Nobody sent me an email. And that's really, really cool. And I kind of need your help here in deciding if I should do just a full video on these or not. I'll probably be rehashing some of what I talk about here. This game, ouch, was the worst game maybe I've played ever in my life. So that's kind of the reason why I don't want to devote a full video to these, because it just doesn't need to happen. Or maybe it does. I don't necessarily want to dilute the channel or spend my time and video quota, the time that I'm able to spend, or really waste your time with reviewing some games that I don't think anyone should ever really consider. But let me know if you think that sort of thing is valuable moving forward, and what sort of format I should do it. Honestly, these two are actually they're fun. They were fun. I played Ouch first, and I thought, oh my god, these are just going to be the worst things in the world. And then these two were actually like fairly enjoyable. And I looked them up, and they're like $9 Canadian each. So I may keep them. I'm not sure. But let me tell you what they all are. Ouch is a game of push your luck. There's a card down, and you pick a side to turn it over. And if you turn it over and there's cactuses on the side that you touched, you say, ouch! And you don't get to keep it. If there isn't, you don't say ouch, and you do get to keep it. Yep. I mean, I guess it would be good for... What's the age range that they suggest? It says 5+. I would say less than 5 is probably the target. You want to do it in that 3 to 5-year-old range, I would assume, for anyone to enjoy it, because the only enjoyment you get would be saying, ouch, really loudly. And hey, that might be fun and funny for a kid. I don't know. I've never been a kid. I came out of the womb like this. Cynical and upset at the world. Veggies was actually quite fun. It was my favorite one out of the bunch. There are a bunch of cards with fruits on them. You're going to take a card from the market or take a card from your hand and play it in your little stall. You play 8 cards, and you're making little clusters of fruit. And then you get points based upon the largest cluster of fruit that you have and the largest cluster of fruit that your opponent has. Then you multiply that by all the different clusters of that same fruit in your stall. It's fun. Like, if somebody gave this to you as a gift, you should play it, and you might enjoy it as a light filler. I actually did enjoy this one the most, and so this one is likely to stay, but then it also is only staying because I think at that $9 price point, I think that's exactly what it should cost, $5 to $9. That's really the only reason why I would keep it, and so that makes me think, oh yeah, I'm not going to miss it if it goes, so I'm just going to, I don't know, give it to somebody. And then Walkie Talkie, again, was kind of fun. You have a color and a letter in the center. Yeah, this could be the video for those 3, and it could have just been a separate video, I guess. I don't know. Let me know if you think this should have been a separate video, because these are games that were sent to me, and I'm curious your thoughts. Or if it would just be annoying to have that video pop up and you to watch it and and be like, oh yeah, these games all look bad. But maybe I could make them funny. So maybe that would be a selling point for something like that. Anyway, Walkie Talkie, you have a color and a letter, and you have to put down a color or a letter and then say a word that starts with the letter and relates to that color. And it's a cooperative game, so you all have certain cards and you all have to do it before time runs out. And you have like 30 seconds per player. So it's really hard to get through, but it was quite enjoyable to do. I had fun while I was doing it, and then I put it away and I was like, oh yeah, I will never need to play this again. So it's interesting, these sorts of games that can be fun and enjoyable, maybe just because of the people you're with, and you're just having fun playing a game, but it's not necessarily the game itself that elevates the experience or makes me want to come back for repeat plays. I definitely had fun while doing it because I like those word puzzles, and we were frantic, and we played a whole bunch of rounds and tried to get through it, and we never won, but it was fun trying to do it. So those are those. They're gone. I guess I'll leave them on the table as we pile everything up. I mean, thank you to Devere Games for sending these along my way, I guess. Like, I appreciate that they were sent my way and that they are commodities that, you know, have value. But I think I'm not really interested in keeping them, and I wouldn't really recommend anyone get them. But they are very cheap, so that's a benefit. They are under $10 Canadian. I don't know. Let's move on. Though, to be fair, they are all better than this game, Condotierre. This has got to be the worst game I've ever played in my life. It's horrible. It is so bad. You have this little board. I got this in a bundle. I got a bundle of like over 20 games. I spent $200 on it. It was Abomination was in there. I was very thrilled about it. A couple of these other ones that are going were in there as well. There were a few in there where I was quite interested in picking up the bundle, and I knew it was a fairly good deal. And then also I picked it up earlier before I started the YouTube channel, thinking this is great. I can then review all these games that I don't automatically love, like the ones on the back of my shelf, so that I can balance out the reviews on the channel with positive and negative ones, so people will know I'm not just a hype man. That was my main thinking. And also to review some lesser known games as well and expand my own knowledge. Condotierre is horrible. If somebody asks you to play this, like, just stop being their friend. You've got all these cards in your hand, they've got numbers on them and different powers, and it's like, why is this so bad? Oh yeah, that's why it's so bad. Basically, you have a little map, and everyone has a token. They say, I want to fight a battle in this region. And then you take cards from your hands that have different strengths that are dealt to you randomly, and you just play them one at a time. You're like, I have 6 power. Oh, they have 6 power. Well, now I have 8 power. Oh, they have 9 power. And then whoever has the most power wins that region. That's it. And then you just keep doing that. And then when someone runs out of cards, you know, usually the round's over and then everybody draws back up to 10 cards and then you do it all over again. There's these other special cards you can use to shake things up. It just was zero fun. It was literally zero fun. I don't know what else to say. I wouldn't play it. So it's gone. And I really think I'll just have to recycle it because it was so bad. Okay. I swear not all the games are like this, but I wanted to get those out of the way first. Here's a game that I actually like. This is a game called Tiny Epic Quest, and this is a weird one to get rid of because it is so small. It could justify its place on the shelf, and because it's actually a solid game, it could still justify its place on the shelf. And yet it's one of those games where I had a fine time with it the couple of times I've played it, but it was just that. It was fine. And I've only kept because I know the Tiny Epic series, people love them so much. I've only kept because it's small. And honestly, that's not anymore a good enough reason to keep these games. Or at least it's not a good enough reason for me anymore. Just because it's small, I never play it. When I look at it, I get that same sense of, it was okay. It was fun. But it was just fun, you know? And I feel bad saying it because I don't actually have too many bad things to say about the game. It's just that for me, it was a little bit mediocre. And I don't want to play it again. So I don't think I will. I think I will relieve myself of that pressure and just get rid of it. And somebody else can get it and can enjoy it. Because you get a lot of stuff in this package. This is the Kickstarter version, so it even has like a little extra mushroom expansion to it. But for me, it was just fun, and I'll give it to some friends who are interested in trying it out, basically. Next up, and I should have started this one, it's 8-Minute Empire. Again, this was staying by virtue that it was small, and because I tried to get rid of it last time I did one of these back in November, so about 6 months ago. That'll probably be around the time I do one of these. I don't purchase that many games, so, well, you know, ish. So I don't have as many going out all the time. This was one that my girlfriend was like, no, I like this. Let's keep it. I said, okay, I'll keep it if you want to play it with me. And she's like, yeah, of course I do. And then we haven't played it since. And we haven't played it in many years. And so it's gone. It's, again, a fun little area control game. You have little tokens that turn up. And they can be turn-ups or carrots or whatever they are, and you vie for control and move your troops to try to control different regions and get more of the same type so that they're worth more points. I love the concept that it can take place in such a short amount of time, but again, it's not one that we ever really grab or gravitate to, so it's gone. And speaking of that, we also have Rivals of Catan, which my girlfriend was like, you're getting rid of that? You're on a rampage. You're on a tear. I just haven't played this game in so long. And I kind of forget how to play it, honestly. You're building out these different towns and abilities from your own center town, and then you roll dice and you get production based upon which lands you've now conquered. So it's a 2-player card game version of Catan, and it's enjoyable, but again, it's one that I never grab, and I think for me, we're gonna grab, you know, other 2-player games, or other games that play better at 2 players, and this was fun I've played this, I don't know, 6-7 times since I've gotten it, and I just don't really have any desire to do that anymore, so into the pile it goes. Honestly, out of all these, I'm most likely to keep Veggies, and then nobody will play with me, and I won't pull the, and then I'll just be back here in the next time I do one of these videos. That's the obscure small game portion done. Now we're going to get into some things where I have some opinions on and might be controversial. It's not going to be that controversial, but I think these are a little bit more well known. Which will I gotta give a better game to start. Let's talk about Bang. Bang is a game that I will never play because Avalon exists. If I'm looking for a social deduction game, I will play Avalon or I'll play Coup. Bang attempts to do a similar thing. Everybody has a hidden role except for the sheriff, and the evil people are trying to kill the sheriff, and the not evil people are trying to save the sheriff. And you have cards that you play, and you can only shoot right next to you, or depending on the gun that you have, then you can shoot 2 spaces over, etc. It's a neat concept, but you just end up getting people shooting each other at random for no reason, because nobody's going to shoot the sheriff right away. And then if somebody does shoot the sheriff right away, then, you know, everybody just kills them instead. It's just fine. It is often recommended in the same breath as the Resistance or One Night Werewolf or Avalon, and I don't think it holds a candle to it. I really don't. It's just a lesser version of them, and it has been one that I've wanted to get rid of for a while, and now I can because it's officially on film, me talking about it, and it can be thrown out the windy. So that's Bang. A lot of people like Bang. I think people like Bang the dice game a little bit more, although if you checked out the best games under $20 death match, you'll see that Bang was the only one that was defeated in a unanimous vote. Bang the dice game, which is supposedly the better version of Bang. Anyway, I'd just play Avalon. I would just play Avalon. I'd just play One Night Werewolf. I'd just play Coup. And speaking of that, this is a hard one to consider getting rid of. And I think I am going to get rid of it. The main reason is because my girlfriend throws a tanty every time we play it, because she doesn't really enjoy it. I like this game. I think it is a lot of fun. But again, just based upon the group, for this sort of social deduction hit, we're always going to gravitate towards Avalon or One Night Werewolf or Coup. Although Coup doesn't get pulled out that much anymore. I usually do that as like a travel game. We played Deception around October, I think. Spooky games that kind of fit the theme. So the premise of Deception is one person is the murderer, everyone else is kind of an investigator, and then one person is the forensic scientist who knows who the murderer is, who knows what the murderer used to kill the person and the clue that was left at the scene. And so everybody has 4 clues in front of them and 4 possible murder weapons. And everyone will close their eyes, the murderer will wake up and they'll point to one so that the forensic scientist sees it. And then the forensic scientist has these additional little boards that are randomized that'll say cause of death, and it'll give 6 options. It'll be location, 6 options. Occupation, 6 options. And so it's up to the forensic investigator to give clues to everyone around the table to indicate which 2 cards were chosen. And what's really fun about this game is the storytelling that can happen with these choices. Because the forensic scientist or forensic investigator has these vague clues, they're trying to paint a picture as to what happened out there, what the scene of the crime was, and by specifying that this was the murder weapon and this was the clue left at the scene, you can tie these sorts of stories together. I can say, okay, the clue was a rabid dog and the murder weapon was some poison. And so this picture is painted where, yeah, this guy's occupation was dangerous. It happened actually by accident. And it's like, okay, maybe he had the poison and he was trying to put the rabid dog down and it actually got stuck into the victim's arm instead, and the person tried to cover it up, right? And you create these various stories based around the different combinations of cards and trying to figure out. That is really fun. And talking about it's if that's something you enjoy or you think your group would enjoy, fantastic. And it's nice this one also plays up to 12 people instead of 10, which is the max for something like Avalon or some other social deduction games. But the key to this one too is to really make sure there's a time limit going around for each person to make their pitch, I find. So I really enjoy this game. I like it a lot and I would absolutely play it anytime, but it's also a game that I'm not necessarily going to pull out all the time, or I'm not going to suggest just because I find the groups that I play with enjoy other things more. That's a long roundabout way of saying that, but I wanted to give a breakdown of why I do really enjoy Deception and think it is good for those people who are thinking about picking it up. Let's put you here. It gets higher and higher. Let's keep it going. Next we have Dead Man's Cabal. This one was okay. I got this again in that large bundle deal, and this was one that I was really excited to get from that large bundle deal, because it's by Pandasaurus Games, who have been killing it lately. They're doing much better than they used to. The theme is fun. The box looks so cool. This is one of my favorite box covers ever. The theme is that you are basically all necromancers having a party, and you're going to resurrect guests to bring to your party. It's a very funny theme. And so you have all these different locations that you can go to. Yeah, basically what will happen is you'll get a skull, and you'll push a skull a little bit over, and you'll use that color skull in a bunch of different rooms for various things. And you're trying to get points, create patterns, and the different colors of the skulls relate to different cards and to different things that you're able to do with them. And that sounds like it would be a hit. Sounds like it would be a fun puzzle, but it just ended up being a little bit too lightweight. They say, oh, you got to arrange it in this order. There's no point. These all feel like very separate things. There's no real sense of cohesion between all the elements, and the little mini game and puzzles are just a little bit too light and not that fun, honestly. So this one fell a little bit flat for us. I was happy to try it. I was really excited to try it, but for me it just wasn't that good, and it's not good enough for me to want to give a second try, because there's too many other things to do. Another one from that bundle, which I actually think has a lot of potential, but I think my girlfriend has ruined for me, is Dwar7s Winter, or the 7 Dwarves Winter, or Dwar7s Winter, which honestly it should go just because of that horrendous title. And as I rearrange everything, the person before me was so nice, it all came sleeved. Basically, you're going to be collecting these different dwarves. You start with a hand of 7, and you will use these dwarves semi-cooperatively to defend your homeland. And I love this as a concept because I think if you really lean into the semi-cooperative nature of this game, it's quite fun, because it's a tower defense semi-cooperative. So there are all these fires that you have to put out, but some of them are worth more points. So if you're gonna go and try to complete the things that are worth the most points, and everybody goes towards that, you'll all lose. And so it's this balance of finding out what can we do, how can we benefit each other, but I still want to do the most stuff. It's basically whoever defeats the most enemies and deals with the most crises will win. But I think it's a really fun twist that you have this push and pull of, no, I'm not gonna go deal with that. You know why? Because you're in the lead, and if I deal with another small thing, you'll win the game. So either you go deal with it, or we lose. And you have this really like mean but cooperative experience where you're playing cards, where you also get to activate a music note, and everybody gets to activate the abilities of their dwarves who have that music note. It's a fun twist. It is with a heavy heart that I am getting rid of this, because I played it once. I played it the first time with my parents, and because I miscalculated, we all lost, and they hated it. But I thought that portion of it was fun. And then I played it with my girlfriend, and she also hated it. And it's the hate from everybody else that has made me not want to, bring it out or attempt to play it with other people, because everyone disliked it so much. But I personally think it was enjoyable. I think you just need to really enjoy leaning into that semi-co-op and enjoy the tower defense. Also, I don't mind getting rid of it because it's not the most complicated tower defense puzzle. And I think that's why it is going, because I'm not like super attached to the mechanics of it that I want to force it on other people. I can say, yeah, I accept that you feel this way, and then just, move on. But yeah, that was Dwar7 Winter. Dwar7s. I call it Dwar7s because that's how it's spelled. And speaking of games from that bundle that I have not played, this is a game called Super Dungeon Explorer, Valley of the Forgotten King. And there's a few of these out there, and this is actually a really expensive game, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting such a deal. And it's just this little tactical skirmish game, which is cooperative, where you're fighting off a bunch of monsters. And I read through the rulebook, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this to the table. And then I read it again, I was like, I really should get this to the table. And then every time I look at it on the shelf, I think, I'm never getting that to the table. So I've never played this game. And unless I meet someone who's like, I love Super Dungeon Explorer, I don't think I ever will. It just feels too cumbersome to really pull out, and not that Interesting. I read through a lot of rulebooks. I think I've gotten everything that I need to know from this rulebook in terms of how it will play, and I think it will play just fine. And I think it will be too long for what it is. And I don't really have any interest in wasting the time because my time is so limited these days. And I've had this for over a year and haven't gotten to play it yet, along with a couple other ones that I know are actually really good and I'm excited to play and that I haven't yet played. So this one is just officially going for space purposes and because I don't think it looks that good. But let's get on to a game that is good. This is Mr. Jack. This may not leave. I like Mr. Jack, but I was talking to my girlfriend about it. Actually, she put this on the pile of potentials to go. And as you can tell by the dust, we haven't played it in a while. It's a 2-player only game. So therefore, this is a game that I will likely only play with my girlfriend because that's who I play 2-player only games with. Mostly. Usually if I'm going to friends' houses, there'll be more of us than 2, but not always. And she put it on the pile because she's like, I like it, but it feels a bit kiddish. And I kind of agree with that assessment. It's also, I mean, I think it's been proven that it's harder to be Mr. Jack than it is to be the investigator. Basically, one player is a serial killer trying to escape, the other player is an investigator. There are 8 characters on the board that everybody gets to control. One of those characters will be Mr. Jack, and Mr. Jack's trying to get them to the exit. Unseen, there's a light and a dark mechanic, and then run out the door. And then each round, the investigator gets to know if Mr. Jack was in the light or Mr. Jack was in the dark. So the investigator is trying to, make 4 people in the light and 4 people in the dark. And then 2 people of those and 2 people of those. And it's a fun puzzle that I definitely enjoy playing, but again, it's not one that I gravitate towards. It's a little bit too lightweight and too big a box to be on the shelf. Maybe I'll pick up a Mr. Jack Pocket because I know there's a travel edition that exists that might make owning it a little bit more palatable. But as far as it is now, I think she's right that it can go and make room on the shelf. I'm excited that these are leaving. I'm excited that there is going to be room on the shelf. I think this falls into the category of, yeah, it's fun, but for me, that no longer is something that I want on my shelf. I don't want to have that feeling towards it when it happens, so that's why it's going. Okay, how many more? 4 more. 4 more. Let's hit them with the, all the good ones come near the end, right? So, okay, fine. I'm going to keep the 3 best ones for the end, just to really tease you out that there are 3 good ones coming. This one is a party game called Concept, and again, this is one that I like. This is a game that I describe as a Alethiometer, the board game, if you are a fan of Philip Pullman's, his Dark Materials trilogy, The Golden Compass, the Alethiometer. And basically, I got this used, that's why there are so many holes in the box. It's just an atrocious box condition, but who cares? It's just a box. The components were fine. You're going to have a board with all these different symbols, and you're going to have a clue that you have to get your team to guess. And you're going to do that by putting little blocks on different symbols. So you'd see like a cow and a color. You might say milk. That's what you're trying to do because it relates to cow and what's the relative cow and white. Or you might say cow and there'd be like a house and a red and that could be like barn, right? The things that you will try to get your team to say are far more complicated than that simplistic example. But that tells you how to play the game. And this is fun. This is what people would probably put into the category of, it's not a board game, it's more of an activity. And like, yeah, sure, fine, it is. The scoring system doesn't really matter at all. I love this as a concept. No pun included. It's just not one that I'm going to pull out that much, just based upon my group. This might be one that my parents might enjoy, though. Hey, Mom and Dad, if you're watching, let me know if you want to try it out. That seems like an interesting party game. Because it's fun. It's a fun little party game to play and just everybody's working together and see if you can have that communication and see if you're on the same wavelength. But there's also a game called Wavelength that I will always play over this. So Concept is getting the axe. All right, moving on to the big boys. We've got Betrayal at House on the Hill. This is maybe not a big boy. Maybe you've already come to the same conclusion that I have with it. You can see with the dust. My girlfriend despises this game. She's never had a fun experience with it. I disagree. I enjoy the experiences that Betrayal gives me. I think it gives you a nice atmosphere, and it's fun when someone's a traitor and they leave the room. I'm currently playing through Betrayal Legacy right now, and that has made me realize that that's all the Betrayal that I think I need. I like it in that Legacy format. and I don't think I will be returning to it in the normal format. I just won't. We also played this around Halloween, and it was enjoyable, but again, it didn't blow me away. It was kind of a mediocre scenario, and there are some scenarios in this which are really fun and really good, and there are some scenarios that you get which are just fine. And so having this dichotomy of experience is no longer something that I am interested in. I am interested in consistent experiences and consistent fun, and I feel like this isn't going to provide it for me as much. I also feel like the types of games that I enjoy playing often are a little bit more strategically involved. So it's good if you want to get your group together and just have a good atmospheric experience, but I'd honestly just recommend getting Betrayal Legacy and going through, and I'm sure there's some replayability value in that, because the twists of Betrayal Legacy have been significantly more interesting than the twists in here, obviously because they can structure it a little bit more. So yeah, Betrayal Legacy is hitting the curb, and I've held on to this for so long because it is that great gateway game. And that's been one of the main reasons for keeping it, is that it appeals to non-gamers. But luckily I've cut all of them out of my life now, and I don't have to worry about it. No, I also just have a wider breadth of knowledge than I did back when I picked up Betrayal back in the day. So I'm happy that I've had a copy. I'm happy to pass it on to the next person who will enjoy it as well. Two more. I'm gonna save the other one for last, because everybody knows this is coming, or you do if you watch this channel regularly. It is, of course, Ankh. Ankh is going, well, just go look at the review. Next. Ankh is too expensive to stay on my shelf, honestly. I have the full Kickstarter package, and I can sell it for what I paid for it, which was like 350 bucks Canadian, or maybe even a bit more after the shipping and conversion. I will absolutely play a game of Ankh anytime somebody wants to, and I will enjoy it. It's just too inconsistent for me. I've had too many inconsistent plays, and I've had a lot of plays. When you don't know if you're getting a good game or not, when you pull it out and you're going to devote 2 hours to an experience, and you cross your fingers and you hope for the best, especially when it has cost you so much to get in the first place, and you could just get that money back and use that money to purchase so many other things. Ooh, should I go on a board game buying spree with the money I get from Ankh? Maybe. It makes for a no-brainer that it should go. If you want to hear the full thoughts on Ankh, check out the review. I'm not going to talk about it too much more, because this video is long enough as it is. And finally, we get to our last game, and this one is, well, it was Tom Vasel's #1 game of all time at a certain point in time, at many points in time. And it is, for that reason, why it was purchased for me, and that is Cosmic Encounter. And I have had a weird relationship with Cosmic Encounter. There, you can go over here so I can be a little bit in the frame. There we go. I've had a weird relationship with Cosmic Encounter because I expect it to be better than it is. I expect it to be more than it is. I look at the cover and I expect this epic space adventure, and it's not. It's a game of screwing over your friends willy-nilly where you need wild cards. People. Actual wild card people. Wild card! Baby! And my big problem with Cosmic Encounter is a couple reasons. Basically, it's a first person to 5 points. You get points by putting your spaceships onto other people's planets. You start with your own planets which have your spaceships on it, and then you target other people. But the game decides who you target, which I understand, so not everybody's ganging up on the place that doesn't have any protection. And then also, you can ally with people, and you can ally on the attacker side or the defender side. But if you ally on the attacker side, basically, when they put a planet on it, you also get to put a planet on it. So you get a point. One of the points needed to get to your 5 points. Or if you ally with the defender side, you get some cards. And the disparity between these two decisions is a very large one. And so the decision making always seems fairly basic. And so that's why I say you need to play with wild cards, or you need to play with people who are drinking. I think this is a game that you should play, and I have enjoyed more when the people around it have been drinking, because then your decision making isn't as logical, and you need to have almost illogical decision making for this game to be enjoyable. At least that's been my experience. You want people to be crazy. You want people to not honor deals, and you want people to go against their own self-interest because it's funny. Yeah. And if you have people who want to do that sort of thing and will do moves for the comedy of it, yeah, Cosmic Encounter I think facilitates that. The beauty of Cosmic Encounter, there's this one character, I think the Filch character, you get all these different alien races with all these different abilities, and they all break the game in some way or the other. There's this one character, it's called the Filch, and literally their power, if you have this one card in your hand, or it used to be in previous editions, it used to be, oh yeah, if you have this power, you can steal cards from the discard pile as long as nobody sees you. And that, to me, is so, so funny. It's so funny. You're just like, well, stealing cards. This has been changed because it was a little bit too powerful, probably, because you could just steal a whole deck and nobody noticed, and you're like, oh, sorry, I have all the cards and you only have 4. I win the game, basically. But it's stuff like that where I think the true intention of Cosmic Encounter lies in that sort of dumb silliness. And so I went into this game thinking that it would be more than that, not understanding that like that was the vibe. And so my first 2 experiences with it weren't fun at all because we were all just like, okay, well, I'm going to ally with you. And I literally only won the game because myself and another person, we said, hey, we can both just negotiate and win the game together. And the only reason I didn't play a negotiate card, I played a fight card and he played a negotiate card, which means that I decided to fight him, so I came out on top. We didn't negotiate, I just muscled my way in there. I got to 5 planets and he only got 4. And I only did that not because I wanted to win outright. I was fine winning with this person. I only did it so that something memorable would have happened, because that is referenced, and I know Tom references that time he did that to his wife or something like that, and he never forgot it. And I wanted that experience, and so I did it, and yeah, it made the game better. But but the logical thing to do is just, well, the logical thing to do is to fight. Right? Because you don't know if the other person is going to be pulling that on you. But it felt so anticlimactic to negotiate. And so it was only because it felt anticlimactic to negotiate that I did something different. It wasn't that I wanted to do something different. It was that I was like, something's got to spice this game up. Maybe this will be fun. And so when a game presents itself with those sorts of choices, it's not that great. That's why I'm getting rid of Cosmic Encounter. This is a tough one. This, again, was given to me as a gift. It was given to me as a gift specifically because at that time it was Tom's #1 game of all time. And they're like, well, this is the best game. You love games, here's the best one, right? And I appreciate that, and I appreciate this being given to me as a gift, and I've held on to it for so long, thinking, well, I could play with this group, or I could play with this group in these specific circumstances, and oh, it's so close. And again, it's if you don't play it when you hit those circumstances, or the circumstances that you've been holding on to it for, you don't play it, and I haven't been playing it, and I don't want to play it, well then, it's gotta go. So there we go. 17 games leaving the collection, and I think I'm happy with each one leaving. Biggest potential that I'm holding on to would be Mr. Jack. I think it's going though. Biggest regret that I don't play it enough? Deception. And third that I might hold on to, honestly, is Veggies, just because I feel bad. No, because I actually like that one. Because I thought it was a nice puzzle, and it just plays super quick, and I just don't think I'll ever play it, so I'm probably not gonna hold on to it. I am most excited that all these are leaving because of the amount of space it opens up on the shelf. And I think that's telling. I think that's very telling in terms of what I'm hoping to get out of the hobby, what I know is out there. There are so many good games out there. There really are, that it doesn't make sense to have games on your shelf that you just feel so about. There is a possibility for every game on your shelf to feel great. And if you're thinking, I'm running out of space, or I'm saving this for a particular person, well, just give it or sell it to that person. If that's the person who you're going to play it with, if that's the person who likes this game so much that you're keeping it and you're holding on to it, because I understand that mentality, I understand that feeling and reasoning behind it, and that's definitely why I hold on to some games. You hold on to it for the people that you play it with. But if you're not into it, and they like it that much, well then maybe they will want to play it without you, and you could potentially open and expand their world as well. I think that's why these are all going. And I think there are still more that could have been on this list, but we'll save that for 6 months down the road when I finally do another one of these. Anyway, I hope that was slightly interesting. I hope it wasn't too long. And I hope it gives you a good sense when you're looking for these games, what to look for, why I'm kicking them out, and why if you don't get rid of them, well, then we can no longer speak to each other whatsoever. I mean it, Dolores! Anyway, thanks again for watching. My name is Chris George, and I don't have a catchphrase. And I don't have these games anymore. Well, until you sell them. I mean, you know what hasn't sold yet? Imperial Settlers. Basically 51st State, which is Z's #1 game of all time, and I tried to get rid of that, and nobody wants it. That should tell you how good that one was. And I can't even sell it for very cheap. So, we'll see what happens with these. I am more accepting that I may just have to give some of these away, that I won't get anything back from them, but honestly, the space that I am getting makes up for it. And I'm very excited to reorganize my shelves with the better ones front and center. Woo! Anyway, see you in the next video.